would have given him that chance. But sorry, go on.
I was going to say similar. I think under Mourinho and Nuno, we can probably say that the training wasn't as strenuous as what it's going to be under Conte. So I think I'd like to see him stay to the summer, because I think if anyone's going to get him fit enough to survive the Premier League, it's going to be a manager like Conte, and to bring that into him so he can come and play more games and play more minutes. But I think it's just a case of attitude, really, because he must know in training of the way people are flying in. You know, Højbjerg will be flying around. People will be chucking tackles in training. There'll be high tempo. So he should know the pace of the game by now.
I mean, your point, Sarah, certainly around staying towards the end of the season, and just that point about the previous managers and the intensity of, say, work rate intensity of Nuno and Mourinho. If you take that and if you couple that with the fact that he's now working under a manager who has a higher expectation in terms of contribution and application, and the fact that two of the three amigos are no longer at the club, his distraction, do you think that now that, because he now might have to focus a lot more without the likes of Aurier and the comfort blanket that he had of like Aurier and Sissoko, and he really, he's going to have to, knuckle down, because if he wants to work and survive, he's just going to have to knuckle down and get on with it. That we might see, certainly to the end of the season, if he stays to the end of the season, we might see a different beast.
If we don't, then we've got to cash in on him, in my opinion. We can't afford to keep waiting for players to become good, and that's half the problem, isn't it? We've got to look at him. He's a good player in flashes every 5 minutes, every 3 games. We can't afford to have that. So I hope for his sake, his football career's sake, and for our sake, he finds that form. But I wonder if in him he wants it enough for a long enough period of time, because there was definitely times under Mourinho where he wanted to play. And he started to be that footballer we got excited about. So, I mean, yet to see the best out of him under Conte. But yeah, those flashes and those skill bits are always going to be there. I mean, I've not seen him play a better game than away at Newcastle, St James's Park earlier this year. I mean, that's the best I've seen him play. I thought it was pretty quiet yesterday, but I'm not really sure frills and skills was the aim of the game yesterday. It's not what you do when you go to those places, is it? Is you keep the ball and you play to feet, and or you're turning in behind, so you're not going to do that. But that's when he looked. But yesterday, that is when he looked effective. When he played it quickly, played it simple, and played penetrating passes. So either that pass to Kane for his goal, or playing it quickly out wide for Royale or whatever. And that's where he looked effective. And you're right. I mean, a lot of the time it was like, if you watched Winks in the middle, a lot of it was doing the doggies and just shutting up the space between, and not allowing them to play straight into their forward, or, and having easy passes. So, that's a lot of out of possession work, really. And, that's just not his game. As much as we can want that to be his game, I don't think that's his game. But okay, so he did well, as you say. I mean, how relieved were you that Kane to get off the mark? That's Kane's first goal at home this season in the Premier League. That is his first goal at home in the Premier League. It was the 19th of December. I think that's the first time I've seen him hit a ball cleanly at home this season. And for the rest of the game, he didn't seem to hit a ball cleanly. I don't know what it is. I'd said to Kelly, I was like, someone needs to tell him to put his England shirt on underneath that Tottenham shirt, for fuck's sake. He can't kick a ball in an Tottenham shirt at the moment. But it's a good confidence booster for him, isn't it? He scored a goal. He took it well. He had plenty of chances. He was actually hitting the target for a change, which I think he's struggled with recently. Normally with Harry, I go 1, 2, 3. That's the rule. I sit on a sofa and I go 1. And if he hasn't scored on his second, you can bloody well bottom on your third chance. It's going in. But it's been more like 1, 2, 99, 100 this season. But I think, he's showing glimpses now, at least. But then I think we look like we're playing better. We've got a better system, and we're getting chances all round.
Yeah,
I think, rather than looking at one a game.
I was disappointed with I wasn't disappointed with the one where Dele laid it square, because I thought it was a shit knock
Shit
from
pass.
Dele from Dele
But
to
Harry
him.
would score them normally.
Yeah, it was more, the one where he was in on goal and Alisson came out and he lofted it in the air, and I didn't know what he was doing. It didn't seem to have an intent to be going for goal. I couldn't work out if he was trying to loft it into an area and hope that one of, Sonny or someone was there looking to attack the ball and try and get it into an empty goal. But it didn't look very decisive from him, which is unusual. So, okay.
Did anyone else think as well that once he did score, though, that actually there was a sense that he just then stepped up a bit. I felt that his energy levels, when it's almost like he felt, right, this is it now. I'm on. I can do this, and I'm going to get. And then not long after, he had that. Yeah, they had that tackle. I think he just was really.
And he's
really
not done one of those challenges. He's not done one of those challenges all season, has he? That's the first time that he's gone flying in. Because normally those type of challenges are where he ends up getting injured. With his glass. He goes and puts in a fucking stupid challenge, and his glass ankles shatter, and then we don't see him for 3 months. So, you're rightly. I noticed that certainly that his work rate kind of picked up after scoring the goal. So maybe he severely lacking in confidence in the game. So, So personally, from Liverpool, of all the Liverpool players, the player that I was most impressed by was actually Diego Jota. I thought his movement and everything was fantastic. But just reflecting back on the goal that he scored, and I thought, I don't know about you, and Rich, I'll come to you because but obviously I hadn't had a chance to chat for a bit. But I thought that we could have done better with that, because Davies, I think, could have just smashed that into row Z rather than trying to. I don't know what he was trying to do in the box. If he was trying to take a touch and then clear it, or take a touch and then find a pass. But I think there's times where you take a touch, and times where you just fucking leather it into the stand. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know. This is the answer. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, it wasn't as if they hadn't been sort of threatening and they hadn't come close, beforehand. So you can't say that he was not forewarned, that he had to be a bit more proactive and on his toes. So I don't know, but he's another good signing for them. Another one. I think some people questioned him when he first went up there to Liverpool, but actually he's a very astute piece of business that they've done, hasn't it? He's fitted into that system really well quite quickly, and another club that seems to be able to recruit effectively, where highlighting our lack of ability to do that. So
I think success allows for that as well. They've built well. I think, didn't they take, like, part of their building was to take one of our scouts. I think it wasn't. I don't know if it was Mitchell or someone who they took up there. They took someone who was integral to us bringing in the likes of Dele and loads of players that we brought in at one point, and just had this real good influx of players around that time where we looked like we were starting to build, and then all of a sudden it's like, right, okay, he fucked off to Liverpool.
Ironically, Steve, do you remember back in sort of 15, 16 when Liverpool fans were all over Twitter saying, Tottenham, get your own scouts?
Yeah.
And then, but actually talking about that, which is quite a salient point, actually, is that from what I've read, is that one of the things that Paratici has been doing is completely overhauling our scouting system. So it's much more world class and much better than it has been before. So I think in the future, hopefully, we'll be getting, we're still in the march on certain players, and
so we're not going to be relying on David Pleat anymore.
Yeah. He's got other business to take care of, I think. So
but he was the one that recommended Dele. I think he still does he does recommend players for us, and we choose to ignore a few of them. probably wrongfully, actually, because I think you can probably pick a player.
Our recruitment hasn't been great, though, is it? I mean, it's 50-50 at best. But I think that's one of his remits has been to overhaul that system in terms of worldwide scouts and to look out for some of the best emerging talent, but also better scouting in terms of what we need for what we've currently got as well. So that's what I've read.
Well, talking of emerging talents, he's as a player he's been with us probably a couple of seasons now, been out on loan, and had a couple of weeks back he was touted as being being a player that Conte really rated and was going to have his opportunity, and then probably got sent off. But he played yesterday, Sessegnon, and I thought had an absolute storming game, not just in an attack, offering us an attacking threat, but in terms of really stifling Salah, who was relatively quiet. I mean, he did knock one in for someone to try and get on the end of, but as posing a goal threat himself, he Sessegnon sort of took him out of the game. I thought he had a really good game defensively, really disciplined and was aggressive. I thought we were all aggressive, really. I thought he was really aggressive. I thought he did really well.
Not only that, Steve, but to me, like watching him live, he looked like he beefed up a lot as well. So he's physically looks bigger, physically looks stronger, and that system suits him so well that actually it wasn't any loss. In fact, probably slightly an improvement having him on that wing than Reguilon, because he matched up really well. I was very impressed with him. I thought that's definitely his best game that I've seen him play for Spurs.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not there's a part of that with Reguilon coming back from this hamstring injury, wasn't it? I think he tweaked a hamstring, and whether or not there was a part of it that was saving him a little bit, because you're thinking that game might stretch, and possibly make him prone to injury again, but also that he has some sort of that we discussed. So Liverpool must be aware of them, some known weaknesses in his game, and that those don't particularly overlap, certainly with how Sessegnon played yesterday. And that's, tactically very, very useful to be able to say, well, if you've got this team where he's going to be up against somebody like Salah that's going to be pushing him back, that's going to be turning him round, that's going to be playing to his weaknesses, then if Sessegnon's actually a more effective player in that capacity, then that's really beginning to solve a massive problem, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Really good to see.
Yeah.
I think if you listen to the interview, I don't know if you listened to the post-match interview with Conte, and Lee, I think you mentioned about the team getting close to sort of peak Poch and that kind of vibe, and I'm really falling in love with Conte. I'm not, I think he's getting to the in terms of his assessment of stuff and how he talks, you want to listen to him in the same way that I wanted to listen to Poch. And I thought brilliant where he said, well, we studied Liverpool. We really studied Liverpool, so tactically, we went to work on how was best to play against them. And one of the unsung players in that team, I think, is Davies, who doesn't get enough credit. I thought he was outstanding yesterday. There was a point where Salah got the march on him, and I thought, oh, here we go, like he's off. And I can't remember I think Davies must have just tugged him and just really just. And these are stuff that we would do in the past, and we'd try and put our hand on a player, and they'd just kind of shrug him off, and then they'd go and break and score. But we're getting a little bit more ruthless in the dark arts as well. And I think he's not.
Did you see the picture going around on Twitter where there's a jail, and it's got "Welcome to Ben Davies Penitentiary."
Yeah.
And he's got the big cigar on, the glasses, and Salah's just next into it.
I haven't seen that.
That was good. Yeah.
I haven't seen that. No, I haven't seen that. Sarah, you were going to chime up.
I